Um,
Hey everyone,
hello, hello, hello.
and we're getting into this topic today. How do you go into a business with your partner and be successful? And I had this topic, like I told you last week, because it was very interesting to hear people's opinions about it, especially the fact that in relationships, people tend to have a lot of arguments
Yes.
and tug of war. It's like a tug of war in a relationship sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know, how do you go into a business with your partner and be successful if you're having these other issues in your relationship?
Well, I think that first of all, I think that this is a great topic. I think it's definitely something that should be talked about. It's due a conversation. We should be hearing from both sides, of the parties, both men and women, as to how they feel about the situation. Um, I'm coming from a place of course, of wanting to be successful. So, with that being said, if I'm in a relationship and that relationship is healthy, we have good communication, of course, everyone's going to get into arguments or disagreements, here and there. But the bottom line is not the fact that you're getting into arguments or disagreements, it's how you resolve them, it's how you communicate with that person and how you get past the issue, because we all know that there's those times when we mad at the other person and we stay mad for a little bit. But that's kind of hard to do. You can't really stay mad at your partner when you're in business together because business has to be handled. And if you're staying mad, then you're not taking care of the business. You're letting the relationship issues drive what's going on in the business, which does not lead to success, in my opinion. So, I think
I
that, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I really do feel like if you're having like what you said, a strong bondage already in your relationship, then that's going to be a lot easier for you to build a business with your partner because you already have a smooth, ongoing relationship.
Right.
But like I stated, there are a lot of people nowadays who is like have a lot of arguments in relationship, and me personally, I know a lot of people as well who and has gone into relationships and they don't have the best relationships, and then they go into business with each other, and then somebody ends up getting mad, or um they end up having a lot of arguments through the business. It's like, or I'm the boss, or I'm the boss, and it just become a whole circus of bad energy. So their business fail
Right.
because of that reason. Is because I feel like a lot of people didn't have a strong boundage and connection and a strong foundation in their
Mm-hmm.
relationship at the beginning.
Right.
So how can you actually have, you know, that strong connection and bondage when it comes to a business? Now, I do know that first, of course, you want to identify your strengths, identify your weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, that's very important, especially when you go into business with someone that you're in a relationship with. You want to identify what are the things that you can do good and
Right.
what are the things that you lack in.
Mm-hmm.
So you both will know, hey, I'm good at this and
Right.
I'm good at this, so I can do this. I think that's the most fun part about it, is when you all can give each other like job duties,
Right.
because that makes it easier,
It
you
does.
know.
It does. And it allows for, your partner to flourish in the things that they are strong in. You might have a partner that's really good with financials and really good with numbers and really good with budgeting and things like that. So that person may take charge and may take the lead on, hey, I think this is a good idea. Let's go ahead. And is it better for us to sign a lease for 2 years on a space so that we have office space? Or should we extend it out, another 6 months to 9 months or whatever? And should we actually buy the space that we're trying to hold a business in? And if there's enough of the space, not only do we have our office space there, but we could also have tenants. We could also have people that are leasing out space from our building in order for them to conduct their business there as well. That's a double good move. Not only do you have a place for your business, but you're also giving opportunity for others to have a place for their business. And on top of that, you making some bread because they're having to pay you rent, for leasing the space. That's an example of someone that's good at something. You may have, someone that's really good at marketing, at networking, at having a whole grasp on the necessity of social media and how important it is to utilize social media to broadcast what your business does, what your business is about, have, little ads and things that are running and all of that. Not everyone is good with that, and not everyone is comfortable with being on social media and trying to promote a business and things like that. So if that's your strong suit, that's something that maybe that you can take charge of. But ultimately, as we were both saying, I think that it's very important to have that strong foundation and to be able to stay committed not only to the relationship but committed to the business, because the two go hand in hand. Because what happens if you're having a falling out in your relationship? Are you going to have the maturity? Are you going to have the professionalism to keep the business still going, even though you're having issues, behind closed doors and not for everyone to have an awareness of? If you're able to manage that and if you're able to do that, professionally, and not allow the business to suffer, then I think, yeah, you're in a good position. But if you know off the bat, like, hey, when we get into it, we get into it. We don't talk, we don't communicate. It's like, hey, what's up? Hey, good morning. Hey, whatever, whatever. You don't really sit and talk about and recap what's going on for the day or
Oh
what's
my
happened for the day.
God, yes. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, so if I would want to do something like this, like go into business with my partner, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because communication, like people like hardly communicate. Some people like this has happened to me. This is why I speak on it because it's
Mm-hmm.
like in relationships like you can really not have that much communication with a person, but
Right.
when it comes to like business wise or money wise, then that line of communication kind of open up. But my thing is, what else besides that do you all have?
Right.
Like, talk about it, communicate about it. Because if you're not even, like you said, recapping, like what happened with you throughout the day, like how, like, what you were doing, like how was your
Mm-hmm.
day,
Mm-hmm.
um talk to me about your day, just talk to
Yeah.
me about your day. So I feel like a lot of couples, not all couples, but a lot of couples like miss that spark in their relationship when they're able to communicate and actually talk about their relationship, and they just go straight like to business like talk or money talk, and it seems like that's where the connection is. And I
Right.
feel like at some point you're not going to be okay with that if you're still with that person in a relationship. Some people may be able to do it, but you'll know then if,
Yeah.
because I feel like the people that are able to do stuff like that, like they're more focused on money. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's not like oh, they love you or they're so in love with you. It's more like,
Right.
okay, we got this business together. We gonna make this money together. I'm
Right.
gonna see what this person can do for me, or da da da.
Mhm.
More of a base of what can they do for me face versus I'm in love with this person. I really want to build something with this person.
Right.
So another thing I wanted to talk about is lean into the discomfort of having these conversations, even though
Yes.
it might feel like it might feel like to us like I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about it. Like I don't want to think this way. I don't want to. No.
You
Sometimes you
have
have to
to.
bring those things out because don't move forward until you both are on the same page. And that's why I say
Exactly.
lean into your discomfort.
Yep.
So just because something is bothering you and you don't want to talk about it, don't hold back just because it's kind of bothersome that that person may think like this or say this. Like you want them to be able to express things to you. I'm working
Right.
on that because baby it's some things that trigger me,
Right.
but we have to learn how to hold back on the trigger, on
Right.
the like, don't make somebody not speak to you or tell you how they feel just because you're feeling triggered,
Right.
and then it's
Yeah.
like another thing, it's like, um, I've seen relationships that I've seen people be in relationships too that have businesses together and stuff like that. And then someone is doing all the work and the other person just wants to be the boss. Like, no.
Oh no. Oh no.
That's another, like, that's
Yeah.
a red flag for me.
That's
Like,
a red flag. That's a huge,
I'm not gonna
huge
put
red flag.
all this in my name and I'm gonna be doing the paperwork and I'm gonna be doing all
Right.
this and all that. And
Right.
then it's like I'm not gonna get anything in return. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yep.
So I just feel like no. So um who do you think should be the CEO?
Um, that's a good question. I think that it varies depending on the relationship and the type of relationship, that you have. And as we were saying, previously, and we've said this before in prior conversations and prior podcasts, that, everybody has their strong suit. Everybody has, those things that they're great at, that without a shadow of a doubt they can handle it and they can do it with their eyes closed. They don't get phased. They don't get flustered. They don't get discouraged easily. They're able to keep on keeping on. But the person that should be the CEO is not the person that just wants to be the boss, that just wants to have the title of CEO, because there's a lot that comes with that. So if you're going into it with, I'm going to be the CEO because I can do X, Y, and Z, without having a conversation with the other person. I think that's a huge mistake. I think the person that is able to handle all the things that come with a business, handle with what comes with making sure that everything is set up with the proper taxing authorities, making sure you've got your right, EIN numbers, and making sure that, your company payroll and your company taxes and all that stuff is set up, and making sure that you've got, someone on board and someone on deck that can handle legal matters and legal questions. I mean, every business should have a good business attorney, for things that come around, because people like to sue, honey. They like to sue the heck out of somebody if they have an opportunity to do so, and love to place the blame on the
Exactly.
business, on the company. So if you're a person that gets stressed out by that kind of stuff, and, it bothers you and it keeps you up at night, and you're not able to focus, you're not able to think correctly, then I don't think that you should be the CEO. I
And
think
you
the
know
C
what? In a business, I don't even mind. not being the CEO. I don't too much
Right.
care about that.
Right.
If you're the CEO, I expect for you to bring, bring your A game on,
Right.
regardless of what you're doing. If you're
At all
talking
times. Yep.
your ideas,
Yep.
your worksheets, just be on your A game. That's
Mm-hmm.
it for me. But I do feel like I don't want to be the boss all the time. And believe it or not, people that, want to be in that role, really want to play in that role, some people don't know how to handle it.
They don't.
It do be a lot. So
Yep. Yep.
I don't think nobody wants to take that lightly. If you're just saying you're the boss just because you came up with the idea, no, it's more than that.
It is definitely, definitely more than that. And that's again, that's with wanting to play with titles. And to me, again, that's a red flag because that's telling me that you want to maintain control. I don't think that if you're in business with a partner, I don't think that CEO, CFO, COO, I don't think any of those titles should have an impact on what's going on with your relationship. And I don't think you should feel any type of way because the other person is the CEO or what have you. They've got responsibilities that come with that come with that role. And that's part of their job. Just like you might have a certain part of your job. You might be the one that is customer facing or client facing. You might be the one that's holding the meetings. You might be the one that's pitching everything. You might be the one that's putting everything together and down on paper when you go to have that meeting and sit down with that company that you want to choose you, as the business of choice for whatever, product and solution that they need. And to me, the person that can get in there and do that and put pen to paper and write out a whole contract and a whole list of ideas of what we will do and what we won't do, and here's how we'll work together and all of that, to me, that's even more of an important role than just having the title of CEO, in my opinion, because you're doing a lot of work when you're having that aspect being attached to your name. And listen, I'm not going to attach anything to my name that I'm not going to put 150% into because it's my name going behind it. Not just my name, but also the reputation of our business, the reputation of our company. So if I can't get that together, if I can't get that right, then I don't have any business in being in that role. So for me, like you, I don't necessarily care about being, CEO. To me, that's not going to make me any less valuable or any less important to the organization. I think it should be the person that can handle all of the things that come with being CEO and can handle the business aspect of that side and, the internal communication with all the different people that come into play and the external communication that comes into people with play. I think you need to be able to handle that and control that. You have to be able to dissect issues. You have to be an excellent communicator because when you're CEO, you're not just communicating with your significant other or your spouse or your partner. You're communicating with all different types of aspects. You might have to be communicating with city council and different things like that. If you're trying to get, an organization started, if you're trying to start, a sub business under your company because you like to volunteer and you like to give back, you need someone that's going to be able to do that and be in position to do that very well without letting any distractions from your relationship come into play.
Absolutely. And I also want to make sure, when we have conversations, as far as if I'm in a relationship with you and we're having conversations, I want to be clear about what kind of conversation are we having. Are we having a CEO conversation or a husband and wife or a relationship conversation? I mean, I want us to be able to identify the conversation and set the tone. Um, because I think that sometimes business can be very consuming, especially when you're doing it with your partner. So I don't want to be talking about business all days and going back and forth on a romantic trip,
Right.
and so like are we like I think those set the tone for the conversation because it'll be a
Yes.
little bit easier. Like me having a conversation with my partner about business is not going to be the same as us having a conversation. It's just in our relationship.
Right.
It's going to be different.
Right.
So and I think it's cool when you make it different because no one is taking things personal. It's a lot of things that are stressful
Right.
about a business as well.
Right.
So, it's just like finding the right roles for each person. Like I stated at the beginning, you want to know like what your strengths are, what are your weaknesses.
Mhm.
Um, Communication, again, because it helps you stay on the same page with your partner.
Right.
Find a business you want to do, because it's like find a business that you want to do so there
Mhm.
are no complaints or less complaints. I feel like
Right.
people are going to complain anyway about
Mhm.
anything, but I feel like when you're doing something, and this is something that I have always stressed to myself, I want to do things that I like to do. Because
Exactly.
if I do things that I don't like to do, I'm not going to be into it.
Right.
And I don't want my partner to feel like, oh, she's just don't want to do nothing with me or whatever. Because I've had people like in the past, I just, and not just my partner, but I'm saying like different people that would want to go into business with me, but
Right.
it would be things that I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
So I would be like, yeah, that's a good idea, but
Right. But
it's
it's
like,
not, it's not for me. Like
right, it's
it's not
something that
something.
I didn't want to do.
Mhm.
And I feel like when you could find something that you want to do, and I feel like too, at one point I was the type that I wanted to do so many different things, but
Mhm.
that didn't make me fail because I wanted to
Right.
do everything that I was putting work into.
Right.
That just made me try different things. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And
But
I wanted to use this as an example. Let's say that, you're in a relationship, you have a partner, you have a spouse, a significant other, yeah, husband, wife, whatever we're calling it these days that we're doing because we're giving it all kinds of names and labels. But let's say you guys also have children together. Think about what happens when that phone rings and it's the school calling and they're calling you because your name is listed first other than your partner's name, and let's just say that
I
that's
get
just,
those.
yeah, yeah, me too. Your name is listed first because you're the mom, and that's just how it happens to be. So they're like, "Hi, mom. We just wanted to give you a call and talk to you about." I'm just going to use the name Jack. Wanted to give you a call about Jack. He had a little bit of a difficult day today. Got into some trouble and da da da. We'd like for you, and his dad to come up and have a meeting with myself, with the teacher that was involved with the incident, and the guidance counselor, or what have you. So you get the phone call, right? You get the call. So you immediately let your significant other know, your husband know, whatever. Hey, the school called me today about Jack. They said he got in a little bit of trouble. They want us to come in and sit down and talk about it, have a conversation. What can we do? What do we think is an adequate punishment, if anything? Should he even be punished, or is this just a talking to? Is this just an explanation of the situation and him maybe not really understanding the ramifications of what it is that he did? Think about that, and then think about how your partner responds to being told you guys have to go up to the school the day after next to have a conversation with the teacher, the principal, the guidance counselor, and your child. Now, when you're in those meetings, who is the one that is asking the majority of the questions? Who is the one that then turns to the child and asks if what was stated, is that what happened? Is that what's true? Because I know that when I'm involved and my husband is involved with having to go up to the school to have a conversation about behavior or something like that, I'm asking questions and then I'm turning to my child and I'm asking them, is this what happened? Is this what they're saying is correct? Because I always encourage my children to tell the truth. And don't not tell the truth just because you're in a room full of people and you're afraid that you're going to get in trouble when you get home. You need to tell the truth because I can't help you. I can't defend you. I can't speak up on your behalf and get you out of a silent lunch or get you out of a detention if you don't tell me the truth. And so think about it in terms of that. Are you the one that's speaking up? Are you the one that's asking the questions? Are you the one that's asking if there's an alternative solution and all the different things that go into that conversation? Or is it your significant other? Or is it the two of you together? Now, if it's the two of you together that are both asking questions, between your child, between the teacher, between the principal, and all of that, the two of you then are working as a team. No one is sitting there silent, just listening to the teachers and the adults talk and not saying anything to the kid. So to me, when you're in that type of scenario, it's not really that much different than with being in business, because when you're in business and you're having to deal with different people, you're going to have to ask them questions. You're going to have to ask them the consequences and the ramifications of certain things not being done. What if we don't make it by this deadline? What happens if this? What happens if that? If you're able to both negotiate the situation and the terms of that, then by all means, absolutely, I truly believe that you can have a successful partnership and you can have a successful relationship. But if you're leaving it all to one person to make all the decisions and to handle everything that needs to be handled because it's a difficult conversation, then, that's kind of a red flag to me. And then that would also be an indicator that, hey, I don't think that you're in a position of leadership when it comes down to this business. Yeah, you can get in there and you can do the job. You can handle what's being outlined in the contract. You can do the handiwork and whatever else that needs to be done, but I'm going to be the one that's going to need to talk to, the attorneys, talk to the accountants, and talk to the different people. So those are the kinds of things that you have to also look at when you're in business. And then those are also the types of conversations that you need to be having with the person that you're going into business with. Because if the person that you're going into business with is like, nah, I'm not really a people person, I don't really like to talking to people like that, then no, that person should by all means not be in charge, should not be the CEO, should not be responsible for those things, because that's very significant information that you need to have and that you need to be able to handle and you need to be able to take care of. So you got to think about that. You got to think about those kinds of scenarios when they may present themselves and when they may arise. You may have someone that you've gone into business with. I'm not talking about your partner. I'm saying that the two of you have a contract for a job that's to be done, but the person that you're working for, let's say at this point, is unhappy with the timeline and with the time frame, and you guys didn't really give me a deadline. You guys didn't really tell me when such and such was going to be done. When is the wiring going in? When is this going to go up? What are the next steps in the process? If you're not able to communicate that and get that understood, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. And when you're having problems there, that problem and those problems are then going to also carry over into your relationship, because it's like
Absolutely.
babe, you left me hanging. You left me having to answer all of the questions, some of the stuff that I didn't even know, but I know I'm going to figure it out and I know that I'm going to find out, but you didn't even try.
Right. And I would also say, like, respect each other, trust your partner's role.
Yep.
Like, trust that your partner can do that. Whatever role that you all come up with, that each
Mm-hmm.
person has to do,
Mm-hmm.
trust that the other person will do it, and respect each other's boundaries, because just like in business, people should have boundaries. Like in relationships, people should have boundaries. Sometimes you can find those people that very rarely are big on boundaries, but that's
Right.
because they barely even have people that they communicate with on any type of level.
Yep.
So they don't require much. But some people do, just because and some people do because they just don't want you to play with them. They've been
Right.
played so many times, like,
Right.
baby, you're not about to play with me
You're
again.
not about to play with me. No.
So
Mm-mm.
just just know that, and it's not bad to have boundaries in a relationship. I think that people put them up once they had a mishap in their relationship, and they just, again, don't want people to be playing with them. So you have to show people that you're serious about things, and boundaries are not bad.
No, it's
They
not at
can
all.
be, they can be if you make it,
Right.
but they're not bad. And like I said, have business dates, have romantic dates.
Yep.
It's not bad to talk about it in romantic, in your romantic dates, about your business dates. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But if it's stressful, if the conversation is too stressful, like I said before, it wouldn't seem like a good idea for me. And that's just my personal opinion, y'all. I'm not no expert, but I'm just saying it's just not a good idea to me to bring it up while while you're trying to relax, because you don't want the person to be more overwhelmed where they don't even want to chill with you no more,
Right.
because y'all haven't y'all, you know,
You haven't had you
when
time.
right,
You
your
haven't had you
relaxing
time.
time. So
Mm-hmm.
find a time and place for stressful conversations about work. Maybe just go out for coffee and say, hey, this is not a romantic date, but this is our business
Right. It's
date.
business. Yeah.
um
I need to know
so
what you're doing. I need to know what you're up to speed on and where are we with this and and those types of things. And it's not a confrontational thing. It's a conversational thing, not confrontation, conversation. And those are conversations that you need to be able to have. And if you're in a relationship, you're able to have conversations. So if you're in business, you should be able to have those same conversations with that same level of tone, with respect, with understanding, with giving the other person grace, with what it is that they're working on, with acknowledgement of appreciation. I appreciate you putting in the time, for doing this because I know that it's a lot. And the same thing, coming from the other person. I mean, if you are already in a relationship and you're throwing kids in the mix, you have a whole family that you have to think about and a whole family that has needs that have to be taken care of. And now you're taking on a project, which is a company, which is a business, which I think is a beautiful thing, because here you are teaching your children how to establish themselves, how to build a life for yourself, how to set up generational wealth so you guys aren't struggling, so you guys don't have to go through some of the things that we went through, because we had a tough time. We made it through on the other side. But if we can keep you guys from having to go through some of that by having a plan and putting that plan in place, then go ahead and do it. I mean, I think back to, I might switch topic just slightly, but I don't think it's necessarily off topic. You and I had a conversation not too long ago, and you were talking about Mia and how good Mia is at doing hair, and how she likes doing hair and she braids her brother's hair and things like that. That's the mindset of a woman that has a mind for business. She has something that she likes to do. She has something that she enjoys doing. She has something that she can make money from. Those are all factors that should come into play when you're deciding to start a business. And here she is at her young age not in her
Yes,
40s or 50s, just figuring this out now.
yes,
She's,
y'all. Even with my daughter, I'm
yep,
sorry. Even with my daughter, I do that. Like, we're gonna have this conversation, baby. It's not about you and mommy and daughter right now. It's about business.
right,
And we talk about the business aspect of it. It's like we really have real cool conversations. She asks me for advice and stuff like that, and I give it to her. Or when she, practice on her brother's hair, mommy, look how this looks.
right,
It's kind of like from a business perspective. And I'm not
exactly.
just saying with your partner. I'm saying you could go into business with anyone. You could go into
Yep,
business with your best friend. You
yep,
can go into business with your son, with your
mm-hmm,
daughter.
yep,
Those are relationships as
yep,
well. You have a relationship with this
absolutely.
person.
Yep,
So it's like, it could go either ways. It's not just for your partner, your lover, it's not just for that. Those tips
mm-hmm,
go for anybody that you're trying to go into business with,
right,
because nine times out of ten, you want to be successful,
right,
so I know I do. I want to be
mm-hmm,
successful, so I take all of these things into consideration, and I thank God once again that he actually, my brain expands so much. Like,
yes,
I really look at all aspect of things, and I have gotten to a point where I understand people's perspectives. I may
yes,
not agree, but I
mm-hmm,
understand.
yes,
So it's
yes,
like it's really cool to look at different perspective of things. And like I said, no one wants to go into business with somebody and fail. You want to go into business with somebody and strive and succeed. But a lot of those things are stopped because we don't have um a good foundation in our
right,
relationship already. So we go into business thinking that everything is going to be good, and it's not. It turns out that either one person takes it all, or the whole business just come crumbling down
right,
because of misunderstandings or
mm-hmm,
miscommunications and stuff like that. So
right.
yeah, I mean, I really thank you so much for joining me on this topic today. I know I was late, y'all, but I'm here. So
We
we're gonna
get
be
it.
on next weekend as well, and
We get it.
you'll be hearing from Brenna.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna figure out something for us to talk about. I'll do that during the week. Give you guys an update on the topic, and we will chat about it. I'll drop the notes and some backstory into the chat, and we'll definitely get into it. But as always, we thank you guys for joining us and rocking with us. As I said, not too long ago in the group, I was like all new episodes for 2025. 2025 has turned out to be a good year so far. We're off to a good start. I am so glad that 2024 is behind us because 2024 was a mess, honey. I don't know about you, but for me, it was a mess. So I am happy to be in 2025, focused and ready. We have ideas that we've been tossing around and talking about. So we're going to see a lot of those things start to come into fruition. We're not going to just talk about it, we're going to be about it. So when you see us popping up here, there, and everywhere, you'd be like, oh, snap. They don't sound
Right.
like we're
And like
doing
I say,
something.
earlier, I say you can make it. You can definitely make it, or you can make it, or you're going to make it. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like it's no other way around.
That's it.
So
Absolutely.
that's the only choice
Absolutely.
we have now. We got to move forward, and we have to, like, just expand our minds more. And myself too.
Yep.
Like, I love learning, just learning. I
Hmm.
learn something every day. There's
Yep.
not a day that goes by that I don't learn.
I
And I
know.
just want to be a better person than I was yesterday. That's all. That's it.
That's
So,
it. That's
peace
it.
out,
That's all.
y'all. That's
All
it.
right,
That's all.
guys. All right. See you next week, guys.
All right.
All right. Bye.